Hello, and thank you for joining us on Global Columbus. My name is Guadalupe Velasquez, and today we'll be talking about our global community. We'll be interviewing guests who work internationally and globally with people around the world, as well as our global community here in Columbus. And our guests today are Sister Shawn Fitzpatrick from the Dominican Sisters of Peace, Dan Weisenbach, who's president and owner.
Weisenbach Recycled Products.
Weisenbach Recycled Products. And Abdikhayr with Food Adventures. Welcome for joining us on the show.
Glad to.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And so if we could begin first with learning a little bit about who you are and what you do, that would be great.
All right. My name is Sister Shawn Fitzpatrick. I'm a Dominican Sister of Peace, and I grew up in Newark, Ohio, so I entered the Dominican Sisters 50 years ago, always interested in education and service. And so I, for the Dominican Sisters, taught 15 years. I was a principal 23, and now I'm director of the Dominican Learning Center, and this is 10 years.
Thank you. Dan?
My name is Dan Weisenbach. My company is Weisenbach Recycled Products. We're a small manufacturer here in Central Ohio, Columbus specifically. And I'm doing life here in Columbus, born here. Actually, my office and factory is in Columbus near Bexley, and it's only blocks away from the old St. Anne's Hospital where I was born. Oh. So very interesting. So we're a manufacturer. We're small, but we have a lot of connections globally in the retail world and other where we've produced product here in Central Ohio that gets sent elsewhere. So we'll chat more about that.
Okay, great. Bethia?
Sorry. My name is Abdikhayr Wolf. I'm the co-owner of Columbus Food Adventures. It's a food tour company based in Columbus. I also run some other websites, food-related websites in Columbus. And I grew up in England. I'm a dual national, but grew up in England, and I've lived in Columbus for about 7 years. Originally came here to work for Ohio State University, and then stayed on because I'd become settled in Columbus.
Okay, great. And so for our viewing audience, I'd like to share that what brought us together today was the discussion around the Columbus Council on World Affairs Global Report. And this global report lists a ton of information, a wealth of information about our global community here in Central Ohio. And one of those aspects has to do with language. So, Sister Shawn, you run a learning center, which is focused...
with adult learners. And basically we teach English. English is a second language, ESOL. We do conversation groups, citizenship preparation, and then we also serve adult basic education and help adults get their GED. And we're finding now that some of our immigrants are studying to get their GED.
That's fantastic. Mm-hmm. And I believe we have some pictures that we're going to put up so the viewing audience can see a little more in detail, you know, what actually occurs there at the center. But could you elaborate a little more on the specific training and what goes on when you talk about the discussions?
Right. Actually, we are a volunteer organization, so we have over 200 volunteers who do one-to-one tutoring. Groups can be with conversation groups to help them, you know, express their language, speak their language, listen to it, learn to read it, learn to write it.
And I see there's a picture there. Is that your team?
That's our team
okay.
that works there. Mm-hmm.
And all of these women are sisters and or volunteers?
One is an associate, but most of them are sisters as volunteers. We're all volunteers.
And then the next photo there, we have...
That was one of our tutors who took her student to get her citizenship. So they were down and got the citizenship, so we took a picture of that.
Wonderful. And that's someone who graduated from your class?
That's right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then we have some more pictures here.
Okay. And this is a conversation group. Sister Robin Richard is one of our instructors, and she's taken a conversation group. And she has people from various countries in that group who do a lot of sharing and talking and telling about their experiences, but always respecting each other's experiences from where they come from.
And that's very important. And then by doing that, they're practicing English?
That's right. They're practicing speaking it. But I think the one-on-one, too, helps them a lot, too, because we're helping them reach their individual goals. What is best for them? What do they most need?
And then there was a picture of some women looking at a computer as well.
Right. We have programs on the computer like Rosetta Stone and a few other programs that after they've had their one-on-one class, then they can also practice on the computer. And we have someone there to assist them with that.
And how long has this Learning Center been in existence?
18 years.
Wow.
2014, we'll have our 20th anniversary in November.
That's fantastic. That's
We've been
wonderful.
at the same place.
That's great. And what is that location?
We're at 1111 East Stewart. Actually, we rent from Corpus Christi Church.
Okay. So you're on the south side.
South side, and we have the whole bottom floor.
Columnist.
In fact, moved up a little bit to the top floor, too,
Okay.
since we're getting bigger.
Great. And Dan,
Yes.
now moving along with your company, you do some great things for our global environment. And I see you have some props there
I
to
brought
share with
toys.
us.
Yeah, it's important to think in Columbus, we have some great companies that are large that have a global impact, but there are more companies in Columbus that would be classified as small businesses. And it's part of that vibrant community that we have here in Columbus that we all seem to work well together. But even the smallest companies can have that great reach beyond our borders. Most of the work we do is out of state, although it's growing more in Columbus, which is great. Some of the projects we've done, these are little flower pots, and this was fun because it was a promotion that Dannon started in Europe with a little clay pot. They wanted to do it Stonyfield. It's a great organic yogurt company. They are in New Hampshire, and they wanted to do a similar promotion here but use their own scrap. What we did is took in a truckload of their scrap from their Yo Baby product, ground and blended the material, and made hundreds of thousands of these tiny little flower pots. And the cool thing was that Dannon liked it so much, they wanted to do it in Europe, and we ended up exporting 250,000 of these pots to France. We had to fly them out of Chicago into France to De Gaulle, and they used them in a promotion in Europe then, made from the scrap plastic from Stonyfield in New Hampshire. So that was fun.
Yeah, so this shows the importance of recycling.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
It's what we do is look for those materials that can be used again, and we can preserve the value both in their energy, the material, and those resources that make that put them back into commerce, generally into a more durable product than they were in the first place. So that's a cool thing we do. The other fun thing. Recognize this?
Yes. Try to stay away from that.
It's completely recyclable. This is a foam cup. People refer to it as a styrofoam cup. There is no such thing as a styrofoam cup. Did you know that?
No.
Styrofoam is a brand name for building insulation. So people talk about banning styrofoam. That means you can't insulate your house. So this is a expanded polystyrene. The problem is it's so light as far as transporting it for manufacture. But there's some new equipment. Dark Container that makes most of these cups has developed some recycling processes to densify the material to get it shipped into a location for it to be processed. And what we did is experimented with those pellets. They become a very dense plastic pellet, and we have barrels extruded and then print and manufacture these pens here in Columbus. And it's made from foam cups and cafeteria trays and the foam packaging from computers and things. So it's usable. This is a revolutionary product, and we now ship these all over the country.
Wow, that's interesting. Going back to that cup that I always knew as being a styrofoam cup.
Right.
Way back in the 70s, the whole dialogue started about not using them because they were harm for the environment. So are you saying that we can use them now? Because I refuse to use them.
Exactly. everything we do in business, in our personal lives, we need to do responsibly. Mm-hmm. And the responsible thing is, recycling first of all, or reusing, and then proper disposal. The funny thing is, so much misinformation has been out there about so many products that it's comical. I do a talk that's like an hour-long talk about eco blunders, things people have done thinking it was good for the environment, and it's actually the opposite. Oh, no. So, like when a fast food switches from, it was in Massachusetts when one of the McDonald's was doing a pilot project where there's clamshell containers were being recycled. So it was being washed and recycled and made into new products. And then when they got away from using those foam clamshell containers, some of the interesting things happened. Their hamburgers didn't stay warm as long, and they went from a recyclable material that was benign in a landfill to a paperboard that was completely not recyclable. And when it goes in a landfill, if it does anaerobically digest in a landfill, it creates methane and leachate. So actually more trouble than it was worth. Yeah. And this never should be littered. This is very visible as litter, and we'll chat about that. I'm Vice President of Keep Ohio Beautiful, so I'm very particular about what gets littered, whether it's plastic caps or foam cups. We can make things from those materials. Littering is a horrible thing, and it hurts our wildlife and hurts our environment. But recycling can preserve those materials and reuse them. This in a landfill is completely benign, although it does take up space. Mm-hmm. In America, we have plenty of space, although there's no reason to fill up our landfills. So, right. But it does well that way. Okay, so.
Well, that's very good information. I've learned so much already on the show. And on to Bethia to hear about the food adventures and the taco truck tour and the other things that your company does that is really enriching our community.
Well, Columbus Food Adventures is our business. We run food tours, and a food tour is a cross between a progressive dinner and a guided tour. And the tours that we do that kind of relate globally, we have a taco truck tour, you mentioned, where we take people around to taco trucks in Columbus. A lot of people don't know Columbus has about 40 taco trucks, predominantly Mexican, but we also have some Colombian, Salvadorian, Honduran trucks as well. And so we take people and introduce them to the dishes. There's a lot of regional variety, and teach them more about the cuisines and how to order and what to order. We also do an ethnic food tour. We call it the Alt Eats tour, where we try to introduce people to some of the diversity in Columbus. I think a lot of people don't realize how diverse the city's become. And so, and people aren't familiar with a lot of the cuisines. And we, want to educate people and kind of show off the quality and diversity of Columbus's cuisine. We think that food is a great way to kind of unite people across cultures and to gain more understanding. So on that tour, we take people to Somali, Nigerian, Vietnamese, South Indian, and Mexican restaurants and bakeries, and take them to a part of town maybe they're not familiar with, and teach them about the cuisines and the culture, and introduce them to new food. So it's obviously very rewarding, I think, for the people that go on the tour. It's rewarding for us to see their reactions, but it's great for the small immigrant business owners who are trying to run these restaurants and don't necessarily have the means or the knowledge to market their businesses. And so it's kind of the business side. We also we do kind of scheduled tours for the general public. We also do a lot of corporate events and private tours. So we work with quite a few of the kind of multinational companies based in Columbus when they are entertaining visitors to kind of showcase Columbus to them. And we run, as I said, several websites. We have a taco truck website. That's kind of how we got started in all of this. We have a website called Alt Eats Columbus, where we document and explain some of the ethnic restaurants in Columbus. I believe we have over 40 countries represented on that, over 100 restaurants, and really trying to point people to some of the best food that's out there in Columbus that they might not know about. And then we also have a website on street food in Columbus about the kind of new kind of mobile food vendors who are not taco trucks setting up. And we actually have an increasing diversity in those as well. We have now a Korean food truck, a Japanese, and an Indonesian food truck, and we're looking forward to seeing more diversity in that field as well.
Yeah, I've seen some of them on the street in the downtown area on occasion, so I'm anxious to try some of them. I pretty much have stuck to the Latino ones, but I definitely love Asian food and go to the restaurants. But I know that what the report that we have received from our health department is that they're entirely safe, and there's like no negative feedback. People, it's in terms of hygiene. Sometimes people are or they're a little precautious or or hesitant to go to the food trucks, and actually they are very clean and hygienically 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, there's some misunderstanding that people don't realize that the trucks are inspected, and Columbus has the green sticker system for all of the restaurants and food shops, and the same applies to the food trucks. And so if you go to visit a food truck, they should have their sticker prominently displayed in the window, and that really gives you the confidence to know that that they're abiding by all of the food safety regulations. But I think sometimes, even more so with the trucks, you actually can see right into the kitchen, and so it's very clear for you to make your own decision on that.
Okay, great.
What I love about what Bethia does is, like on their taco truck tour, it's more than just going to different taco trucks. You learn about which region in Mexico or South America that's from, and how the cuisines are different from different regions. And that was fascinating. That when you teach people about the food from Mexico City is different than food from one of the other regions or states in Mexico.
Yeah, there's I think especially maybe because of the term taco truck, people just assume that it's just tacos and it's kind of generic, but there really is just a huge amount of variety even just within the taco trucks.
Absolutely. Sister Sean, now I know that you've had a chance to look at the global report, and how have you found it useful to the Learning Center and the work that you do?
Exactly. I think it's very helpful in future planning. One of our biggest things is getting the amount of tutors when we do one-on-one, getting volunteer tutors that we can train. And as I looked at it, the numbers seemed probably a little higher than I expected in some areas.
Oh, sure.
But I know, like at ours, we have such a diverse population. We have 47 different countries represented at our center. Oh. And we're in 27 libraries, so people can tutor near their home, one-to-one, and we have 3 satellites besides the center.
Great. I think we also have your website with your contact information, and so if someone wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way?
Okay. Call us 444-7330. And we do tutor training every month. We have a group every month that we train new tutors, and we do a large workshop to show everything we do. And then let the people make a choice of what they feel they could best do. And then we do a second workshop with exactly what they'll be doing.
And what's the feedback that you're getting from the participants?
From the students, very, very good feedback. The kind of feedback that they've been in their own country, let's say China, and they were everything there. They were a doctor, and they come to the United States and they're nothing because they have to kind of start over, learn the language, etc. So they feel very good about the help that they're getting, and we help them with, like, if they have to take a speech test, or if they have to take another test on language and that. We've had people go on and be doctors or nurses or pharmacists. And I brought some letters that they've written, to say how helpful it is and how friendly they find the people in Columbus.
Oh, Oh, that's good to know.
Very friendly.
That is one thing that is great about Columbus, and that's the people.
Right.
Absolutely. Okay, well, we'll swing back around, and maybe you can find one of those letters and read a bit to us.
Definitely.
And Dan, with your company, being a recycling company, how do you find the global report, useful to you, also for future planning or even currently to today's?
Yeah, a lot of what we do are help somebody like the city of Columbus and keep Columbus beautiful to get their message out, to get out the message of recycling or litter prevention. And it's important to understand that we're not just addressing that to English-speaking, grown up in the United States kind of audience. It's helpful in where do we need to learn more about the culture where our new citizens came from. Because if their culture was just throw all the garbage out on the curb, literally thrown, not in the nice containers, but then we have to deal with that. And we have to figure out a way to bring that message of litter prevention, recycling, environment to that community so that they understand what our standards are here.
Right, and if I could add, the report refers to 644 foreign-owned businesses representing 37 countries. And so that's a lot of product, being used. A lot of
It's interesting too that with the this is my 32nd year in business, so I've been at this a while, and it's interesting to see whether it's the restaurant world where they cook what they grew up cooking. But in the trades, it's the same. There are certain parts of the world or certain countries that produce the specialists in whether it's machine tools or a particular work ethic or the different skills that they can bring to Columbus. It's nice to learn what those are so that we can take advantage of the education and the upbringing that they already have, in addition to knowing where we need to do more training. So that's been a part of it. The other thing is in the labeling or communicating on our products that we have to put more than one language on a label sometimes in order to have the product properly used. We've learned some things, not so much the hard way, but there's some things you don't always do right the first time. We have one of our products that we produce here in town. This is our Snap and Pour. It's made 100% recycled plastic, made here, and we do all the labeling, the boxing, all of that right here with Columbus or in Columbus.
Let's take a look at that a little bit better. And so, how does this work?
Well, the cool thing is here, I brought a jug so you can see. You can't tell by looking at it. You're like, what the heck is this? It goes onto a jug like antifreeze or torch fuel or whatever, so you can pour it without spilling it. So it's a pollution prevention that you don't spill antifreeze or oil or fuel all over the place.
I've needed this.
Have you spilled anything?
Oh yeah, I'm always shaking as I pour the antifreeze.
So the cool thing is this is a great product. It's useful. It saves product because they spill less, but it also saves our water system. Anything you spill on the driveway, next time it rains, it's going to be in your rivers, lakes, streams, and eventually drinking water. Yeah, so it's important from that aspect. This product, this little company, me in Columbus, Ohio, I own the patent and trademarks on it.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And I must say a big thanks to Walmart. Walmart was the first purchaser of this that made it possible to make all the tooling and everything, and now it's for sale in over 30 to 40 retailers around the country that carry this product. And it's for sale in every Walmart in North America, so US and Canada. So the Canadian ones, we had an English and French label.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Right?
Mandatory.
Well, we had to change it because the French was slightly smaller than the English on it, and they're required by law to have the translations the exact same size. So that was an interesting language learning we did.
Well, Dan, you would be happy to know that the Dominican Learning Center recycles everything.
Oh, wonderful.
And we teach our tutors that are there, and we teach our students.
Yes, and I do too. And my family is always harping on me that I think I'm saving the world. Please tell me that I am.
The answer
I am
is
contributing.
You're doing more than saving the world. And the reason is when you recycle, and whether whatever your business is or whatever your home is, when you're recycling, instead of taking those materials and burying them forever, you're putting those materials back into commerce, and that creates jobs here in Central Ohio.
Great.
And that's what matters, is we are creating jobs. We are turning those, hundreds of companies are taking those materials and putting them into a new product. It's saving energy, so that's helping in that regard. It's saving our resources, and it's creating jobs to manufacture durable products from those materials. So you're doing a great thing. Be proud of it.
Thank you. And with that, we're going to wrap up the first half of the show. We'll be back in a few minutes to talk about the Global Report.
There's always a moment. The moment you decide to get involved, to get engaged.
This is my
American story.
When you teach someone to read, they have a sense of self-fulfillment.
Seeing family, friends fall victim to gang violence, drugs, it definitely made me want to serve.
There was a hole in the ground, and by the time we left, there was a house.
I realized that these kids were not getting a meal.
It is so easy to give back.
I don't have a lot of money to help people, but I do have something. I have time.
You can give any skill you have.
Get up and do something.
Just imagine how strong a society we could be.
Every one of us has a role to play in making our communities and our country stronger. Discover yours. Help us continue to make a difference in the life of our nation. Go to serve.gov and find the opportunity that works for you. And this message is brought to you by the Corporation for National and Community Service.
Does retirement have to wait until my 70s?
Is a great college for our kids?
Out of the question?
Is the American dream
out of our reach?
Not if we can help it. We're the National Endowment for Financial Education, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping people just like you get smart about their money. Log on to smartaboutmoney.org today and start taking control of your financial life.
When I grow up, I want to be a psychologist or a therapist.
I want to be a pediatrician. I was hoping to become a chef someday.
I want to own a big house with the convertible and the jacuzzi and the pool, all the good stuff.
Role models, they don't tell you what to do, but they help you to go where you're going.
I want to study law. I don't want to become a lawyer. I want to become a CIA agent.
Young people, I think, do need a mentor because, we don't know everything. And, all the people, they've experienced stuff that we haven't.
I would like to be a baseball player.
As long as there's somebody behind you, pushing you and supporting you, then you feel that you always have the strength to keep going.
Well, I would like to become like a doctor. That's my first choice.
Sometimes you feel down and you feel that no one really understands and no one knows where you're coming from. And it's great to see someone who's been where you are now and making it.
Each of our children has hopes and dreams for their future. Help them get there. Become a mentor.
Thank you for joining us. This is the second half of Global Columbus. My name is Guadalupe Velasquez, and today we're talking about our global community, and in particular referencing the Columbus Council on World Affairs Global Report. And my guests with us today are Sister Sean, who's the director of the Dominican Learning Center, and then Dan Weisenbach of Weisenbach Recycled Products, and Bethia Wolf of Columbus Food Adventures. Thank you for joining us. Bethia, now we were talking about the food tours, specifically the taco trucks, but also you said you take people to restaurants as well. And how is it, what has been your experience in developing a relationship with the restaurant owners? And there's a lot of communication that has to take place. Sometimes there's a language barrier as well. How have you found that experience to be?
We definitely have, in general, found it very, very positive. I think one of the nice things about our business, people talk about win-win situations, but I really think we have that very kind of beneficial business model. For the restaurants, we're bringing them new customers. We're bringing them, right inside. to have an experience in the restaurant. We find that they get a lot of repeat business from that. People really like the cuisines. They'll come back. They'll often, turn into regular customers, or they'll, through word of mouth, tell other people about the restaurants. And so I think, even if maybe some of the restaurants were a little bit hesitant in the beginning, but they're like, okay, well, we'll try. But when they see people coming back, and then when they get, some media attention, maybe as a result of some of the marketing and the kind of work that we do to publicize the restaurants, we see the kind of their enthusiasm building.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we definitely always recommend that to our audience, that the best way to get to know our community is to go to the different stores and markets, and definitely restaurants. So you're providing a good service to our community, and it's just great.
And I think often, people are intimidated, and it's, if you only have the opportunity to go out and eat, a few times a month maybe, and you want to go somewhere where you know what you're going to get, and so people find it intimidating to go to new restaurants that they don't know, especially if it's a new cuisine and they have no idea what the food will be like or what to order. Mm-hmm. And so I think with the tours, it's kind of a hand-holding. You're taking someone there, you're explaining everything to them, you're taking the uncertainty out of their experience. And we really hear from a lot of our customers, either they say, I never knew this was here, or they say, I never would have come in here because I wouldn't have known what it was like. And, that if the sign outside the restaurant says, Intercontinental Lagos pepper soup, people don't know that it's a Nigerian restaurant. They don't know what Nigerian food is like.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes even where Nigeria is.
So it's
seriously. I mean, sometimes that is, not everyone knows, a lot about geography.
So we, I think it's a positive experience for everybody involved.
Mm-hmm. And I believe we have some pictures of the tour that you have provided to us, and so we'll just put those up on the screen. And here's one of them. Tell us about this slide.
This is from one of our taco truck tours. For the taco truck tours, we go out to the west side of Columbus. There's a high concentration of taco trucks there, and a lot of diversity of the taco trucks. So we start off with a taco, but then we really want to show people that there's so much more than tacos, and so we have a lot of different dishes. And there's a lot of education. It's a fun experience, but there's definitely an educational component to it, talking about the origins of some of the dishes and the ingredients that are used, and things like that, because we're trying to give people more of an understanding. This is Los Guachos Taqueria. This one has become very popular, and they actually have opened a bricks and mortar restaurant now as well. And so it's great to see, these small businesses growing.
Yes, this is like a first step.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen as well in our city, where they start off as even selling just at the festivals, mm-hmm. and then a truck, and then a restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So, what's been the most exotic food that you've eaten here in Columbus, and where can we find it?
There really is. There's a surprising amount of kind of exotic ingredients that you can find in Columbus. We actually kind of toyed around maybe with the idea of doing kind of a bizarre foods tour, but you can find everything from silkworm pupae and water beetles and jellyfish and fermented squid, and there really is a huge range for people that are really kind of adventurous. But I think the thing that we mostly try and focus to people on is it's not all food like that.
Yes, of course.
We try to show people that eating the ethnic cuisines, their flavors are very accessible. They're not going to be fed weird
mm-hmm.
things.
Mm-hmm.
That they can have delicious, unthreatening food.
Yeah, and I keep saying I want to do a show about the dumpling, because there's the pierogi, and then there's an empanada, mm-hmm. right? And then even a form of the stuffed cabbage it's not a dumpling, but it's something that's wrapped, right?
And the Somali sambusa.
Oh yeah, the sambusas and mimosas from the Indian community. So yes.
There's one of the things that's very interesting when you're visiting a lot of the different ethnic cuisines is seeing which ingredients are used
similarly.
Similarly and differently as well. You know, like a tamarind in India is used in curries and chutneys, and in Mexico it's used for popsicles and drinks.
And candy.
And you know, Southeast Asia, you know, tamarind is used in some of the noodle dishes and things like that. So it's interesting. And then when you start tracing kind of the ingredients and where they maybe were first discovered, and then where they now have become commonly grown and things, you know, there's a lot of interesting kind of history and things you get through that. And
absolutely, so. I agree. Most Latinos use the plátano, the green banana, for mild you know, eating. So in whatever form it is, it's never spicy. And yet the Ghanaians make a very spicy plátano dish, a banana, right? But it's extremely painfully spicy.
And then,
but it's delicious.
And the Nigerians eat a lot of sweet plantains, you know, as well. So seeing these things that, you know, maybe were discovered in America and then, you know, now commonly grown in West Africa, and seeing those kind of connections, I think is really interesting for people. And it makes it more accessible, you know, when people go to a restaurant, even though if the cuisine is unfamiliar to them, but if there's an ingredient, you know, or something that's familiar, I think it's kind of a way in. It makes it kind of feel safer or more comfortable.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a fun way to get to know more about our community. So, and we have also posted your website when you talk, your name's there with your website. So please reach out to Columbus Food Adventures and find out more about our global community. And going back now to Sister Sean, I understand you have some letters that you wanted to share with us.
Right. You know, our reason for being really is to help the global community, and a lot of these people are self-starters. They're going to be future job providers. They're going to be future entrepreneurs. So I think, and that's what their desire is. Their desire is to come to this country and then to be able to contribute to the society. Well, this is a woman from Egypt. And she said, immigration to the United States was the biggest adventure I had ever made in my life. I had to choose between leaving my big family in Egypt and living here with a small one in a very different situation with different people. I'm working now as a pharmacist technician, and I enjoy my life here. I love the people. They're kind, they're friendly, in spite of their being very serious and hardworking.
Oh.
And this is a fellow from Mauritania. And when I first came to the center, I thought, now where is Mauritania? But I've quickly learned. But someone recognized in Mauritania his talent and sent him to the United States. He settled in New York, and someone said, come to Columbus. You'll be able to get a job there. So he did, and he loves it. But the hard thing he said is, I miss my wife and son and talk to them weekly, but I cannot bring them here until I get a green card. And he said, and I don't know when I'll be able to do that. Oh. So they come, they work, they send money back home and hope to someday be able to bring their families here. I mean,
and something that I'd like to point out to our viewing audience also is that, so they are contributing as you know, Columbus residents, but even the process of sending money back is something that contributes to our economy, because there's a fee to send money.
Absolutely.
And so there is definitely a contribution that we receive on a daily basis from all of our immigrant refugee community residents.
Absolutely. Here's a gentleman from Somalia. He's an older gentleman, and he's brought his kids, he has 7 kids, to the United States. He brought them down to the center to bridge them so they could get into college. They've graduated from college. You know, they're working jobs, they're contributing to society. That gentleman, every single week, comes to the center to improve his English and learn math. But he said, in the United States, we have found the people to be very friendly, helpful, and interested in hearing and learning about Somalia. So really, that's the kind of opinions that I get from our immigrants that, are there.
That's great. And I'm curious, in terms of education, do you feel that students are prepared for the 21st century skill sets that they need to have?
Some are very, very prepared through their experiences, and some don't have the soft skills. And the soft skills that I'm talking about is, if you can't come, call and let the school know, let the tutor know, how to complete a job, how to put some energy into the job. So we have a lot there to teach too, because that's our job, to help them prepare for future society too.
So it's more of the transition, and positioning.
Exactly. But a lot are very, very well prepared.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Dan and Bethia, both of you have businesses here in Columbus. How has Columbus been good to you and for you as business owners?
I think what's indicated in the report there, with the huge range of people and backgrounds and ethnicities we have here in Columbus, that very obviously Columbus is very welcoming to immigrants, very welcoming to different cultures. It's amazing how much diversity we have without having the problems that can sometimes be associated with merging of cultures. And Columbus is friendly. It is helpful. When you were talking, I hadn't thought of it before, because just a part of our company now so much. We have an employee who came here from Cameroon, very well educated, even in the United States here, but from Cameroon. He was hoping to set up a portion of his family's business in the United States. And we were doing some work for him, and he owed us a small amount of money, but then some things happened in Cameroon, and it ended up his parents had passed away, and the funds were tied up, and he wasn't able to pay us. And that was sometime back in the 80s, the late 80s, I guess, mid 80s even. He's been with my company about 20 years now. But from Cameroon, and he has a master's in business administration. And the first project was, he came in and said, I can't pay you, but I'll work it off. He had very strong work ethic, which is a beautiful thing. And I didn't really have any work for him, but he cleaned the sidewalk outside our business just to help pay it off. So we gave him credit for an hour of that. He came back the next day, and now he's one of my key people in the company. I depend on him immensely for both business advice, for making sure everything's done, for getting the work out, and he's tremendous as a friend, as an advisor, and it all started from that relationship of help. Help me. And it's key. And then he and I together have tried to mentor others from the community or from elsewhere to teach them those work ethic, those soft skills, if you will. It's a challenge, but that's part of it.
That's really a great story.
I think the culture of Columbus, there really is a lot of support for entrepreneurship in Columbus, and a lot of there's a lot of programs, I think, to support entrepreneurs, but there's just an attitude of people that they're very keen to support small businesses and independent businesses. And we've seen, initiatives like Metropreneur and the Small Business Beanstalk. And I think and that makes it a great place to do business, because you really do feel that people want you to succeed. And I think, from our point of view, it's obviously great for us that there are so many other companies, based in Columbus. It gives us customers for doing corporate tours. And we found we have some great customers, for example, Metla Toledo, we work with, and they have so many subsidiaries overseas, and they bring in a lot of visitors every year, and these people, a lot of them, they were just, their offices up in Polaris, and so the people would come in and they would just be in the Polaris area, and we did an event for them last year, and brought people down to the Short North and downtown and showed them different restaurants and some of the distilleries, places like that, art galleries, and they were, some of them said, I've been to Columbus, 20 times, and I've never seen downtown before.
Yeah.
I never understood like anything about Columbus, what the city was like. I just saw the airport and Polaris, and that was it. So I think it's great for us to have connections with those kind of multinational businesses, and encouraging, I guess, for me in the Global Report to see that there's some other ones, that I didn't realize as well. Okay.
And so another question that I have for all three of you, and Dan, I want to start with you because I understand you have been involved with policy changes that have helped with the city, and so I'd like you to share that with us, but I'd also like to know from each of you what policies you think could be changed or created to make our global community even better. And so Dan, let's start with you.
Well, as far as my involvement with the city, a number of years ago, Mayor Coleman, in his State of the City, proclaimed that by 2013 we would have comprehensive curbside recycling. So me and a number of other people were asked to be part of a committee to get that set up. And there are some great minds from different disciplines here in Columbus. And the curbside recycling program is what we structured from that, with a lot of input from the community, of course, and under the office of the mayor and the environmental steward. So Columbus was the largest city in the United States without a comprehensive curbside recycling program. And I said it that way because we've had a subscription curbside program, and we had the country's largest drop-off recycling program. But we didn't have every household with a bin, and we have that now. And we were able to start, having learned from, I travel a lot and I get to see what works in other parts of the country, and we were able to start with a program that is up to date, state of the art, and our local recyclers here as well, state of the art. And we were able to, instead of having to reinvest that so many communities have had to do, we were able to start with what works, and that was a huge thing.
Yeah, it's very nice.
So,
okay, and Sister Sean.
Yes, I think education is the key to growth, and I think if we're going to bring, if immigrants are going to come to Columbus or to the United States, then we got to make sure there's equitable opportunities for them for education, also for decent jobs, and so that they can contribite to society. That's the desire of all of them. They all want that.
Is it such that they get so much paperwork with the new things? When we're talking about that with a new business, they have to understand all the paperwork and forms, but anything that policy-wise, too many policies might be bad, where a policy of making it that entry into a job, less paperwork, less restrictions might be real helpful for all of us, I think. So,
and of course they can bring that paperwork, and we help them with any of that too as they have it.
I think it's much more complicated than
Yeah,
that.
but I just think provision of education so that all have the same chance at it.
Right. Right, because the skill set is there. It's just, again, that transition. And sometimes, Sister Sean, how long do you think it takes, from your experience with the Learning Center, for someone to not just have conversational English, but be able to clearly write in English where one can, where it's proper English?
I would say it depends on what their background, everybody asks that, but it just depends on what they come with.
Right.
If they've come with nothing, it's going to take time.
Right.
It's going to take a number of years.
As it would take any of us to learn another language. And then the practice, right?
Yes.
Being right in, talking, conversation, writing,
Yes. And, at home, how much can they, I think it's important to keep your own culture, your own language.
Absolutely.
But it's important to practice the language too. And kids get it fast.
Yes.
And I think another thing too is kids are ending up interpreting for their parents.
Yes, they
and I think that causes problems too.
Yes, in the family dimension.
Right. So the sooner we can get them educated and
Yes.
ahead of their kids.
Because actually the reverse is happening. Then the children are learning English and not wanting to retain their language.
Right.
And it's very important because it is part of who they are. Their culture is part of who they are. So, okay, thank you. Bethia?
I think, for us, our biggest engagement kind of with the city or kind of organizations is with Experience Columbus. We're very kind of active members of Experience Columbus as a kind of tourist focused business. But in terms of some of the other things, I guess, that impact us more indirectly, I think Columbus has been open to food trucks. I know at the moment City Council is kind of reviewing the policies for mobile food vendors, and I think it's great that they're being kind of proactive on that. But certainly I think Columbus has been an easier place for mobile food vendors and for businesses like that to get established than some other cities. And that's one of the reasons why we do have this vibrant street food scene in Columbus, is because of the city policies that facilitated that. So that's something I'm pleased about. In terms of the restaurants, it seems like one of the things that's an obstacle often with restaurants or difficult is all the zoning and permitting and things, and just the time it takes and the money involved in that. So I guess if something that I would hope maybe could be streamlined would be that kind of zoning and buildings and code process, which I know is important. Obviously, we want everything to be safe and ADA compliant, but it does seem like that often is a barrier for people trying to open restaurants.
Good. And Dan, with regard to the other organizations you're involved in, I know that Earth Day is coming up.
Yes, and we're very excited about that. And Columbus is one of the leaders, not in just celebrating Earth Day, but in Columbus we do things a little differently. With our founder, Tad Dritz, had the vision that we would do service projects. So the weekend before our celebration, we'll spend a couple of days with 4,000 plus volunteers, planting trees, community gardens, removing invasive species, litter cleanups, graffiti removal, picking up cigarette butts off the sidewalks, whatever it happens to be. And Keep Columbus Beautiful is a big part of that. We also have help from the Columbus Foundation and the Nature Conservancy, and other great sponsors, the Limited and others that are, the large companies are helpful. Small companies get involved by sponsoring a work site. Some of them are now talking about maybe doing a community garden that has that grows the ethnic foods. And Scott's Miracle Grow has the community gardening campus at Franklin Park Conservatory, and they do a rotating 4 gardens of all different ethnicities to demonstrate those types of foods grown in their native countries. It's very exciting. And Green Columbus is the sponsor of Earth Day, or Earth Day Columbus, and that you can sign up to volunteer there and be a part of that. You can sponsor a work site or be a contributor. Certainly come celebrate all that with us. And Columbus is a real leader in getting people involved and making a difference. The mayor said at one time that one of the first comments he hears from visitors to our city is how clean it is. It's clean because businesses are cleaning up around their properties. Neighborhoods are being cleaned up. Keep Columbus Beautiful is a huge part of, they loan the tools, the bags, the gloves. I recognize the work that they do. I'm on the board of Keep Ohio Beautiful, and Keep Columbus Beautiful is one of our affiliates, and we also have Keep Grove City Beautiful as well. And what they do is coordinate volunteers. They use a small amount of money and get citizen volunteers to go out and pick up litter and do all those projects that I mentioned. Is a big part of what they facilitate. And what it does is makes our community ready for business. If you're going to open a business or open a restaurant, getting litter off the streets and keeping it clean and neat and landscaped, that's where you want to work, that's where you want to spend your money, that's where you want to open a business, that's where you want to live. And that is Columbus because of the work that we all do.
Yes, and I always say that leadership starts from the top down, and I've always been proud to be a part of those cleanup days and to see Mayor Coleman right there with the staff, with the community, cleaning up and encouraging us to continually clean up our city.
Well, the neat thing is, and I don't mean to contradict you, but that is absolutely great to have Mayor Coleman's leadership in that. But it's also, this is an area where sometimes that leadership begins with two moms getting together saying, hey, our alley's a mess.
Yes.
So there's some real leadership at the grassroots level too. So.
In every level, right.
Yes.
So it just depends on, I work for the city, so I was referring to the city. But we do only have a few minutes left. Bithia, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say it definitely is true. I mean, I showed a group from Chicago around last week, down in the Short North area, and the first thing they were like, "Wow, this is so clean," you know. And, and I think you take it for granted a lot when you live here
until you go out,
until you travel.
You know, and that's one of the great things, you know, about connecting with visitors and all these people that are coming to Columbus. You know, having the opportunity to tell them about Columbus and kind of maybe shatter their expectations, or but also to kind of hear their reactions to things and to get an outside perspective on our city kind of refreshed all the time.
Yes.
So I'd like to take this time to thank you all for not only being on the show, but for the work that you do and how you're changing our global world, our global community in a macro and a micro, you know, way. So thank you all. And and with that, I'd like to remind everyone to take a moment to go to the Columbus Council on World Affairs website, and you can view and download the Global Report. And in here you'll see a wide range of everything that makes up our global community. Thank you so much for joining us on Global Columbus. Have a good night.